Hey everyone, in this video we are going to talk about how to find gaps in your research and how to start filling those gaps with primary and secondary sources that can more clearly illustrate the problem that you're trying to talk about in your research paper. And this is just to help you make sure that as you're going into the final stages of this class that you have enough data on your topic to sufficiently convince a skeptical reader, me, that what you're trying to say is, accurate, is convincing, is true. So let's go ahead and jump on into this. So what we want to start doing is taking stock of where the gaps in our research are. What do we not actually know? And what ideas do you have in your essay that you can't actually support? So what I would really encourage you to do here is do a few things. Is to pull up your inquiry boxes, first of all, and go through there and see if there are any of those research questions that are underdeveloped, under-answered, under-supported. And you'll know it. You should be able to visually see like, oh, this column has a lot of data and if this column doesn't. And so I would want you to expand those out. You could also go through some of your earlier essays and you could just see if there are any claims that you made that you think you could probably support a little bit better. The inquiry boxes are going to be the easiest way of doing it. That's why I had you do them earlier. But again, you can go through your previous essays too. A little bit harder. You could also just sit down and think like, what do I wish I knew better? And that could also help you start going in a new direction. But basically, you want to start by thinking about how to narrow and broaden your research questions. And that's not to say that you want to get rid of your research questions per se, but you want to think like, okay, I've learned quite a bit now. I'm not at the beginning of my research topic. How can I start to, take these questions that I have and start asking more specific, like secondary, even maybe tertiary questions? Or maybe how can I start connecting some of these what questions and when questions, why questions, and where questions? And so I could start refining questions from, what factors impact reading and writing, which still might be my overall, guiding question. And based off of the research I've done, I might ask, what factors increase the reading scores of students in Mississippi in the 2020s? How? And so then here, of course, this will tell me all sorts of data that I need to go find. I need to go find their reading scores. I need to focus on students in Mississippi. It needs to be in the 2020s. Hey, that's like at least several years. So I can go through and I can try to find all of this extra data for what I'm trying to talk about. Similarly, we might ask, rather than this just general why are literacy skills falling, we might ask, why did almost half of the students in Illinois read below grade level in 2025? So we take, the same sort of years from the earlier question, and maybe we use a different example. We might compare and contrast them. We might even just, only focus on Illinois. We might only focus on Mississippi, whatever you want to do. But again, I'm basing this off of some of the research I've done. This is something I learned. Now I'm curious about more. Or again, just one more to show you, how are Illinois lawmakers drawing on Mississippi to rewrite our literacy policies? Are they? Maybe they're not. Maybe they should. Maybe that could even be your argument. Should, Illinois lawmakers draw on Mississippi to rewrite our literacy policies? How? Why? And that's how you can start going about it, because ultimately, what we're really trying to do is build a case study here. And a case study is just simply an in-depth, detailed exploration of a specific real-world situation or phenomenon in order to understand it better. So if my phenomenon or my situation, my topic is the literacy crisis in the United States, I might start asking like, what best represents this issue? How does it best represent that issue? Why does it best represent that issue? And especially for this class, can I easily get primary source data on it or something close to it? I'll be pretty nice here. You don't have to get super wild. But basically, it's just a real world specific situation that helps us understand. So rather than just talking about this literacy crisis broadly, which can be kind of confusing and hard to understand, I might focus on Mississippi and Illinois, and just compare and contrast how those two states, which maybe seem quite different, are trying to tackle this issue. What are they doing the same thing? Are they going about it in different ways? Who's maybe more successful? Why are they more successful? Should we be, working harder together? Those sorts of things. These two things go together pretty easily with the research process. You start with a problem, you have evidence, you analyze that evidence, you interpret it, you evaluate it, you answer a research question based off of all of that. But we really want to focus here on the evidence because that's really what a case in the case study is. It's just a data set. It's just a set of evidence that we're using to prove what we're trying to say. The study part here is really like the analysis and interpretation and stuff. So really what we're just worried about at this stage is just the case part, the data set part, just trying to expand out our research over the course of this week. And then, over the course of the next couple weeks, you'll really focus on the study part even more. You've already been doing both. Again, this is just to fill out more of your evidence. So let's think about that. Remember, as we're trying to do this, we're just trying to find a few more, maybe 5, 6 more sources that can help us give a specific real-world example that is representative of your research topic. So again, think about what your research topic is. Think about the research that you've done. What has stuck out to you? What could you go into more depth about? So again, if I'm talking about the literacy crisis in the United States, or if I'm talking about whatever your topic is, what you need is primary source evidence and secondary sources. So if I'm thinking about the literacy crisis in the United States, I might get interviews with teachers, with students, with parents, with lawmakers, if you can. I might try to get board minutes of places that are like talking about literacy issues if I can. Those are usually available on the internet. I might try to get curriculum materials from different schools, from the state. I might try to look at those if I can. Again, these are all if you can. I might try to get testing data from before and after they make teaching changes. That's probably pretty easy to get. And then I could also look for legislation that these people are using. I know that will be easy to get. So again, these are all sort of things. Why are they primary sources? Because they directly give me information about this topic. These are the people who were involved in shaping this. Then we could also use secondary sources. We probably have a healthy amount of these right now, so we might really try to focus on primary source material. But these are just things like, news reports. Who's talking about this? What are they saying? We might try to find scholarly articles, and this could be about the literacy crisis specifically. It could be about literacy broadly. It could be about reading habits in other countries because you want to do a compare and contrast. Just scholarly articles that are roughly related about this topic. We might also look about, like reports analyzing testing data. We might look for like education groups that are trying to analyze the data that we got. But it's basically just, analysis of this testing data that you're not doing. You might also look for opinion pieces on people trying to tell us how to think about that data, or any other kind of commentary that comes from people who weren't involved. So this is basically all I want to do. From here out, I just want you to go through, think about how you're going to find a specific case study, a specific real-world example, find 5 primary, secondary sources that help illustrate this. And if you have any questions, email me at kbolt@elgin.edu. Have a good one. I'll see you around.